police in community policing, So for those of you who were around while we were doing the community policing program where Officer Juan Phillips and Officer Andrew Scott from Buffalo, New York, and we also had Vern White, who was the chief of police of Ottawa, the capital of Canada. He was the chief of police at the time, who joined us in Dominica to do that community policing training. We are here tonight. We may have a special guest. Well, we have a special guest. The special guest all of us are special guests, but it may be a special guest that we all know that probably wouldn't expect to be on the show. On the ground in Dominica, we'll wait to see if he can join us tonight as we discuss issues that are relevant to Peaceology State. Of course, you are listening to Peaceology State here on the big station. As we already said, it's the 12th. It's the 8th day of the 12th month. It's December 8th of 2025. I'm your host, Dr. Peter K.B. St. Jean. My co-host, Patrice K.B. St. Jean, is not able to join us tonight because, tomorrow is reading day for most universities, including mine. Patrice has exams during exams week, and she is the head of an organization and some other things. So she apologized that she won't be able to join us as a co-host in our show tonight. So we'll miss her, but we certainly will do our best with her. And so we have already introduced Officer Juan Phillips. He'll tell you a little more of himself, but I'm just itching to say this. Is it 41 or 43 years? How many years have you been on the Buffalo Police Force here, Officer Phillips?
43 years.
43 years, my goodness, man.
Yeah.
You ready to do another 43 or what?
No, matter of fact, I look to I look to bring it to the end at the end of this here calendar year.
Well, we're glad that we can still talk to you, when you are, while you are still there, man, making this record time. And folks, you're listening to the big station Q95 Radio. I'm gonna pull up my I am working remotely, and I will get the numbers that you can call in live. It's a live show that you can. I should know this 448-3096, 448-3097. I think I got that right so far, right, Lambi? And then the overseas number is 305. So Lambi, can you tell us the numbers? I'll write it again so that I can say it over. You mind calling out the numbers, please, so that people can know we are right here live on Q95. Lambi is I'm here in Chicago. Officer Phillips is in Buffalo, New York. Andrew Scott should be joining us from Buffalo, New York. Theo Hadam is in Chicago. Lambi, can you tell the listeners again the numbers to call in?
The numbers are as follow: 449-3095, 449-3096, 449-3097, 616-4257. Those are all local numbers. Mm-hmm. And the overseas or international number, 305-432-9624. Back to you.
Yes, thank you so much. Thank you so much, Lambi. I see. Brother Theo Hadam, say good night to our people, man.
Oh, yeah. Hello, everybody. Hope everybody can hear me pretty good. I'm just here waiting. What happened simultaneously, I got one of my guys that work for me, his car went down on him. I tried to jump it. So now I'm waiting on AAA to show up for him. But I'm on the show. I'm just sitting in my car now. I don't have no cables on it. So I'm here. You all have my undivided attention now.
Chicago South Side, right? You're on the South
Side? That's where I'm at. On the South Side.
It's never a dull moment, man. It's never a dull moment. And I wish our listeners could see you, man. You look like you're in Alaska, man. It's cold.
No, you know what happened? I turned the light on in my car. That's why I was trying to get some light on here, myself. But that's the best I could do. Sorry about that, Professor.
No, you sound good, man. It's all good. It's all good. So, folks, thanks again. You're tuned in to Peaceology States here on the big station. We have a great show lined up for you. Soon we're going to go into a break. Usually I start off by playing Know the Story of Our Peace, right? I usually play it live on the accordion, or I have my harmonica. But for some reason, the bag I have, the harmonica is not in there. I hope it's not lost by any means. And I removed my accordion. I usually keep an accordion in my office and one at home, but I brought the one that was in my office at home because I am planning to travel to Dominica on Friday and I didn't want to leave it in my office. So, but then we have the Lapo Jinping version of Know the Story of Our Peace. And we have a 9-year-old and two 10-year-olds that are playing the drums. We'll hear that piece there in a moment. As I usually open up the show, I say Peaceology is the science and practice of low stress and high joy. I'm the founder of Peaceology. Peaceology was born right here in Dominica, in Trafalgar, in the Rosa Valley, in Dominica, in the Caribbean, in that section of the world in North America. And in Chicago, we are using Peaceology. In Buffalo, we're using Peaceology as we continue to build Peaceology, the science and practice of low stress and high joy. I'm also the founder of Peaceology Acres, which is a resort over in Trafalgar, and some other efforts that we have. We actually have, I'll be talking later on about a Peaceology Kudme. The Kudme is a very important part of our culture where we kind of do ourselves. And it will be on the 20th, or Saturday the 20th of December. I'll be talking some more about that. But we really want to thank some people who have, some sponsors who have already come on board to help us make this come alive. I will be saying some more about it. But we, on Saturday the 20th of December of 2025 at 6 a.m. we'll have breakfast at Peaceology Acres. Then at 7 o'clock we'll have work crews going to Shaba's house, Dennis Anthony Casimir's house there in Trafalgar, and also Mr. Selwyn's shop. Mr. Selwyn's shop, Bernard, his grandson, is running the shop. But we say Mr. Selwyn's shop because it's a historic, one of the oldest landmarks of businesses in our community that we're giving a facelift to each of those properties. We'll be there working until 4 o'clock. And then from 6 p.m. to 9 p.m., we're going to have a Creole Christmas after party. You're for volunteers and sponsors, asking people to wear something Creole, to have some Creole food, some drink. We'll play some live Lapo Cabwit. We'll play some live Lapo Jingping, some Jingping Bouillon. We ask people to bring an instrument to play with us and wear something Creole. And I'll say this a few times tonight, but I really want to thank some of our sponsors already, Anthony Saint Jean, Newton Saint Jean, Christabel John Baptist, Edgar George, Papiat, Brunch and Munch, Peaceology Acres, Strictly Ike Tells in Wharton Waven, and another location, Back to Eden, Tropical Escape in Wharton Waven. And we have others who have also pledged to provide some donations to help us to renovate, to give a facelift to those buildings, because we in tourism, we believe in developing an intentional community development, IDC tourism, where people, those of us in the tourism industry, give back to help beautify our community and to help give something back to the community from which are the natural resources to help us. So I will speak some more later about that. But meanwhile, if you are interested in being a sponsor, you can call on WhatsApp 716-603-0992, or you can call the show tonight if you're interested in being a sponsor. Our sponsorship, it's pretty affordable. The bronze sponsorship is $100, and we have two mentions on the radio show. The silver is $200. The gold is $300, and the platinum is $500. And we have these two properties in Trafalgar that we're doing the uplift, the facelifts on. But there are properties in other places. We hope to do some things in Wharton Waven next. But if we get more sponsorship than what we need, then we can go right ahead and even do some more. We need a 5-gallon bucket of green of forest green paint, a 5-gallon bucket of light green paint, a 5-gallon bucket of primer, and we need about 6 rollers, 4 brushes of whether they're for 4 inches, 2 inches, 1 inch, with 4 scrapers, and we need some fissure board. So I'll say some more about this, but the whole idea is that part of what we do on the show, besides talking about the history of Peaceology, low stress and high joy, we really want to be able to give some things back to our community. And the young folks who work with us, like the ones who play the Lapo Jingping, that we want to, as they work with us in our program, in a Better Me, Better You, or other things in Peaceology, we want them to learn the value of giving something back to society. A lot of times we want to take, but especially from a very young age, it is very important that our young people learn to collaborate with others to give back to our community. And one of the things we want to do is to help to beautify our space. So Lambi, take us over to the Lapo Jingping, or Know the Story of Our Peace. And as you guys listen to the song, it's simply that. A lot of time we know the story of our violence. We know violence happens, but we do not know the story of our peace. You're not going to hear any singing, but just imagine. So let's let your mind go as you listen to the recording. It's a short piece, Know the Story of Our Peace. And you can get that at Lapo Jingping right on YouTube. Thanks for listening. Right here. Yes, yes, yes. That was Know the Story of Our Peace, played in Lapo Jingping. Lapo Jingping is a combination of Lapo Kabwit and Jingping music. I know, Theo and Juan, it may have not been that clear to you. I mean, if we listen live on the radio station, we hear it a little clearer, or you can play back on Facebook. And Lambi, I hope I will be able to indulge you, because we don't have Patrice tonight. If we have any words on Facebook, I don't know if you're in a position where you would be able to see it to read. Do we have anybody yet that says anything yet? Or are we still waiting on them? We're still waiting on comments. If anybody wants to leave a comment or want to see us, we're also live on Facebook. Go to the Facebook of Q95 Radio, the big station again. If you want to call in anytime, you'll be able to call in at area code, of course, it's 767-449-3095, 449-3096, 449-3097. You could also use 616-616-4257, or if overseas line, we can go to 305-432-9624, right? Thank you again for continuing to. We know we have some great supporters, listeners in various parts of the world. I know we have Timothy Davison, Timothy in Mount Prosper. I'm pretty sure you're probably locked in. Algie in Wharton Waven. We have a bunch of folks who listen to us in different places. Thanks so much for listening. Rachel, who's the owner of Back to Eden, and others. Thanks for continuing to listen. So now let me just introduce a little bit. I want to. So Mr. Hardeman, I know you've been doing what you've been doing for a while. Tell our listeners, we'll have some time to get a little bit down and how you do what you do, but tell our listeners a little bit about who you are and what you do.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, once again, everybody, T.O. Hardeman, president of Violence Interrupters, not-for-profit organization. My organization, we work with high-risk individuals here in Chicago, and I actually train people throughout the United States as well, you know, under this public health model that we look at violence as pretty much a infectious disease type of doing our best to help change mindsets, and we address it like an epidemic. So it's more like it's more than just street outreach, working with the young guys, but we work with them to try to help change the way they think when it comes down to committing acts of violence. And you know, because it's hard, you know, you could unlearn bad behaviors. So currently, on behalf of Violence Interrupters, this year we're currently working with about maybe 120 high-risk individuals, and we monitor everything we do with them as far as helping them turn their lives around. So about 35% of the guys have re-enrolled back into alternative school systems. Another 35% they're in some kind of job training programs, and the remaining like 30% of the individuals that we work with, you know, it's a wide range of services like mental health, homelessness support, trauma support, the whole gamut, you name it. So we're doing our best to try to help build the person from the inside out. And we have a pretty good success track record working with the young people here. Some young ladies, but the majority of the young men. And also we mediate conflicts that could have turned deadly, and we mediate on the front end before any shots are fired. So far this year, we mediated around 40 conflicts where we stopped somebody from hurting somebody on the front end, which is more important to me because a lot of people can come after an act of gun violence, which we come after the fact as well to kind of help the family out, dealing with the trauma, the anger, the emotions, the grief, and all that. But our work is wide range work that we do with the young people out here in Chicago, and we've been successful. You know, it's not just about me; it's about all of us working together. But I created the Violence Interrupters back in 2004 when I was serving as the director of Ceasefire, Illinois. So that's just pretty much, and I teach as an adjunct professor at North Park University in the field of restorative justice and sociology. That's pretty much my elevator pitch, professor.
Yes, brother. Thank you so much to Hardeman for joining us here. We, you know, we're always thankful to be able to have conversations with people who do exemplary things. And as we speak about having a society of low stress and high joy, having a very peaceful society, as we're talking about building Peaceful Nature Isle, you know, and as we are making those efforts, and as, you know, Peaceology is born on the soil of Dominica, and we work with it in Chicago, work with it in Buffalo, in different parts of the world. It's always good to hear from other people who are working on the front lines of creating a more peaceful society. We will hopefully be able to hear some more from you, and hopefully Duke Ackland can join us, who's a former head of a street organization in Chicago, and who's working as a violence interrupter in your program. Hopefully he'll be able to join us. I also send the information to Advisor Bo, who should be able to join us. But I know his wife died this morning, and I know it's also Bo is Dirk's cousin. You know, so through
tough time. So it's a tough time for Dirk and Bo. Yes.
So if he can join us now, I certainly understand. But I was glad to talk to Bo a little bit this afternoon, and we'll continue to say our prayers, and I'll visit with their family soon. How long were they married for?
40 years.
40 years, yeah.
That's what he told me today.
Yeah, man. I remember visiting many times. It was a wonderful woman, man. She was struggling with some things for a while, but she's not in pain anymore. And we
Yeah.
say prayer
Mhm.
for those. We have is that a caller? We have a caller. Do you have a caller on the line? A caller, you are on the big station, Peaceology State. Go right ahead.
Yes, Dr. Fraser, how are you?
Good night. Good night. Thanks for calling us. Who am I speaking with? And what we have the pleasure of
This,
listening.
this is Joan. This is Joan from what reason?
Hi, John. How are you? Thank you for calling. La
I'm doing
Petite
a
Paradis.
good. Excuse me?
John from La Petite Paradis.
Yes, yes. I just want to tell you congratulations on what you're doing. You're doing a good job. And you are not forgetting your roots. You're not forgetting your roots. And this is something that is so special. This is something that is so unique. When I listen to you on Monday night, I mean, you're calling the guys from what you were, you're not forgetting your roots. And this is rare, my brother. Please, please keep it up. And we promise, I think my husband is in communication with you as to us donating something to your project, and we said we want to be one of the gold sponsors. So he will communicate with you on that behalf. So
Sure.
thank
Thanks
you
for
very
calling.
much. Thank
Thanks
you,
for
thank
calling.
you.
So,
And one
so,
more
so,
thing,
John, as you with us, John, as you with us, tell us
uh,
a little bit about La Petite Paradis. Like, when did you guys start? Because I think it is very. I'm going to talk about Peaceful Dominica. Your company, your business employs so many people. I see so many rentals out there. There are people from Trafalgar who work in your place. Tell us a bit about the history of La Petite Paradis. Tell us about that and why people should really come and support your business.
okay, I will tell you, we have our first son had gotten a scholarship some years ago to play basketball.
Mhm.
And we were trying to figure out how we could help him, up there. And then some people came from Martinique here, and then they wanted some here to rent. And my
Mm.
husband and I were just in the process of fixing a little downstairs. So we told them, well, it's not yet finished. And so they came, they watched it, they said, yeah, they want to pull up there. So they stayed there like for the whole month, and I was cooking for them from my kitchen. And so at the end of it, they told us how much. So I myself, I don't know much about it. I tell him, well, I don't know how much to charge you. Anyway, they blessed us with some money. So when we saw that, we were like, wow. So that's a good way to help our son in the States. And
Mhm.
that's how we started, buying two plywood, buying two boards, and that was it. And we called the place Property Paradise. So officially we started like in 1998. And now we have like 9 rooms. We can accommodate groups of 20 persons. We're employing people from the area. We buy stuff, we provisions and so, eggs and things. We buy from Diane, we buy from other persons. So we're trying to give back to the community. Yeah, that is what Pity Party is all about.
Well, thank you so much. Thank you so much. And at Peaceology State, we really enjoy the opportunity to give organizations, companies, businesses like yourself a space for others to learn about what you are doing and support what you're doing because there are big businesses. All businesses are important, but there are so many small businesses like yours that are really the kind of the clog that run nations, that run cities and somewhere might maybe employing 2 or 3 people. I mean, you multiply that by hundreds and thousands, that's a lot. And I like the quality of the services that you guys give. I remember when I brought my wife and family over down by my buddy Tia's place, right at Tia's spa down there, and we wanted something to eat. And one of our folks was vegetarian, and they're still hooked. They're gonna come back to Dominica just for your lentils. They're gonna come back just for your lentils. And one Philip, Officer Phillips, who went to Watton Wave in the hot water, so he will tell you about his love for Dominica and how he got hooked to Dominica. But I'm so glad you were able to tell us your story because other people need to hear that it doesn't take a whole lot. Sometimes we say that necessity is the mother of invention, but sometimes it is there are so many people who have stories of just reaching out to help somebody, and God blesses them to have a good business. And you guys are world class. You guys do great stuff. If the listeners, if you have never been to Le Petit Paradis, if you have never had a meal there, if you have never stopped and go inside, go ahead and try that. And while you're there, just down the street, you'll see there shops, there are little bars, there's hot water in the village of Watton-Waven. If you haven't gone to Watton-Waven and you haven't been in the spa at all, or you haven't been to one of the spas until recently, whether it's by Tikwe Show, or whether it's by Screws, or whether it's by the Escape, or whether it's by Tiaz, or whether it's by Apicin, you need to certainly go out there and see part of what nature has to offer. Joan, thank you so much. I know I could count on you guys.
Thank you. And one more thing, please tell Cecilia hello for me. The last time she was here, I just saw her for a short space of time. I said, please, you need to come check me out. She said, next time when she come back, she'll come look for me. So
I make sure I'll tell her. Cecilia, if you guys are worried, that's my second sister. Thank you, Joan. Love you and your family. Stay awesome. Keep on doing the great things you do, okay? And tell everybody I said hello.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. God bless you.
Yes. So, Officer Phillips, do you remember? I know it's 17 years ago, and I know we went to Watton-Waven. Remember when we went to the hot water spa?
Oh, yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
So after 17 years, like, what have you missed Dominica? Do you ever remember Dominica at all? Tell us, man. Let me hear you.
Well, I must admit, it's probably not a week that goes by that I don't talk about your home. I was so impressed. 17 years ago, I was really considering what would it take for me to leave here, the USA, and come and relocate to the island.
Really?
I just fell in love with what you had to offer. I fell in love with the people. It was just a beautiful life experience, and God would do that. He would place you where things become a life memory. So if nothing else, I have lifelong memories of my time that I spent in the island of Dominica.
Thank you so much. And there's some stories you told me that I want my fellow Dominicans to hear. And I know your memory is so great. You do not need any of them to be helped. But I remember you told me of a story of some women that met you in the market. And
Yes.
you said that your call for ministry was like, so tell me about it. We could say it later, but tell me that story now. You remember?
Yes, I was in the marketplace, and on an evening, matter of fact, me and Brother Andre Scott, who will be on a little later, and this woman, this older mother, I'm going to say, walked up to me, and she said, "Would you lead us in prayer?" And I'm looking at her a little bewildered because obviously we had been there for a while, but nobody knew about my ministry, that I was in ministry. And they knew that you introduced us, and we was on radio shows and that as an officer from the United States. So the mother looked at me, and I'm like, "Why would you ask me to do that?" And she looked at me and said, "Are you not a minister? Are you not a child of God?" And I said, "Yes." And I remember, next thing I know, we have like a circle of maybe 30, 40 people holding hands, and I'm leading them in prayer. So that was I was just being birthed into the ministry. So it was a lot that was still new to me. But here's the mother has saw the mark of the Father upon me. And she called me, I don't want to say she called me out, but at the same time, she made me recognize the journey that I was on in the ministry of spreading my Father's gospel. Wow. And I thought, wow, what a place that should have happened. I came back and I talked to my bishop, Bishop Matthew L. Brown, and I said, how would she know? I never introduced myself as minister. And he said it was where she was spiritually, and it was the calling of the Father that has upon your life that others would see it.
Wow.
Yeah.
And man, we have so many of our women, our men, our people with good spirits that guide us.
Yes.
And we have mothers in so many ways. Not all our mothers, not all people who are mothers actually give birth to us, because we could only be birthed by one mother. And one of the greatest gifts of society is the mother that brings forth the child. And even if the mother brings forth the child and the mother cannot take care of the child as much as the mother wishes to, the mother already birthed earth with a beautiful human being. And I think it is all our responsibility to help her and whoever else is in her life, because she didn't bring the child alone. The father was involved, but the
Yes.
mother plays that role. And mother's mother, even when they do not have children, you know. And I think that it is so important that when we talk about Peaceology, when we talk about low stress and high joy, when we talk about peaceful nature isle, when we talk about a peaceful world, when we talk about having people move away from killing babies.
Yes.
Whether you kill an older and a person who's 70 years, 60 years, 30 years, 30 months, or 30 days, you're still killing someone who was a baby, somebody's baby. It's important for us to remember the gifts that mothers bring and what we do to motherhood when we hurt each other.
Yes, sir.
And
Yes.
with that said, we'll take a little break and listen to a song from our friend Ayub Moransi, who's going to sing the song "Thank You, Mama." You know, and then on the other side of the break, we'll talk a little bit more, and callers can continue to call in. But Lambi, let's listen to "Thank You, Mama" by Ayub Moransi as we are in this space, and thank all mothers for all the great things that they continue to do for our society,
Yes.
for our people, for our peace all over the world. You know, it's very important that we recognize that and see mothers, not just those who bear children, but even those that guide like they guided you.
Amen.
My queen, my special queen, mama. Growing as a young child, life was not easy. For me, mama and daddy, hear me. With my mama and my papa, man, she had it very hard, red hot. Had to fend for all of me. For all these pillows that did, hear me when I tell you now. I thank you, mama. Oh, I am. I thank you, mama. For who I turned out to be when I lost my daddy. Was only you, Mary, who held my hand. Thank you, mama. Oh, I am. Thank you, mama. For who I turned out to be when I lost my daddy. Was only you, Mary, who held my hand. Mama, mama, mama. I owe it to you. Respect is my due. You got the almighty and of me. Hear me. Despite the victory, you stay godly. Yes, you mastered all of me. So, yes, I grew with dignity. Though I never had a deed. Hear me when I tell you now. Thank you, mama. Oh, I am. Oh, I am. I thank you, mama. For who I turned out to be when I lost my daddy. Was only you, Mary, who held my hand. Thank you, mama. For who I am. Oh, I am. Thank you, mama. For who I turned out to be when I lost my daddy. Was only you, Mary, who held my hand. Without was not easy, but you brought me up with dignity. Yes, time was rough, never had enough, but we made it through with the Lord's support. Through the storm, through the night, just like a rock. And when the strong wind blew, I was never lost. And when you discipline, you were very rough. But thank you, Mama, it was good for us. Thank you, Mama, for who I am. For who I am. Thank you, Mama, for who I turned out to be. When I lost my daddy, was only you and me who held my hand. Thank you, Mama, for who I am. For who I am. Thank you, Mama, for who I turned out to be. When I lost my daddy, was only you.
Yes. Thank you, Mama. Thank you, Mama. And Officer Phillips, I was just thinking when you said this, because you referred to the senior as a mother, as a mama, and
Yes.
idea, of mothers guiding us. I just thought that song just came to mind. Does that song? Well, I don't know how much of it you were able to relate and how much you were able to hear and the spirit, but I hope you felt that it was kind of timely. Can you tell us a bit? Well, I'll ask you to tell us a bit about to think about a bit about what you experienced when we were doing the community policing training in Dominica. And as you know, there are some community policing efforts that are going on in Dominica now. But before you do that, I wanted to ask you, Mr. Hardiman, I know you do violence interruption and so on. How do you experience community policing in the work that you do? Well, how do you experience it in Chicago?
Oh, no. We have a real good relationship with community police and the Chicago Police Department. And as a matter of fact, what happens is every time an incident occurs within one of the targeted areas that we serve, we get a notification from the police department as it relates to the incident. So we all work collectively in our efforts to kind of like heal, number one, help heal the community, and number two, to try to get support for the victims immediately. So community policing, I think, is very important to the work that we all do. And it's, sometimes when you're working on the streets, not having such a close relationship with the police is pretty much the norm. But in this case, we've come a long way, put it like that, with our relationship with the police, because it's not about us telling on people. We don't have that kind of relationship, but the relationship we do have is we share, like when we have an event outside the community, we had a police there to kind of patrol, the events, and sometimes the police will come out and speak to some of the young guys as well. Contrary to popular belief, you have some police officers that have good relationships with some of the young guys out there in the community. So everybody plays a role, but community policing is part of the strategy. And we attend community policing meetings, monthly meetings. They call them beat meetings here on the south side and west side of Chicago, where they discuss what's going on in the community and how we can all help one another. So that's my experience. And as a matter of fact, I used to work many, many years ago, Professor, when they first started CAPS, the Community Alternative Policing Strategy in Chicago. I was one of their first community trainers many years ago. So it's all about problem solving. And if you get like a rash of crimes in a certain area, we all come together as community residents, faith-based leaders, police department, business leaders, and we do our best to kind of solve the issue with community policing strategy. So I have a wealth of experience, working in the community on every level, especially with all facets of the community, Professor. And community policing is very important.
So now tell me about, thanks for sharing that with us, Mr. Hanneman. So tell me about what the implementation, because I was an evaluator when I was at University of Chicago doing my PhD with Wes Cogan over at Northwestern.
Yes.
Wes Cogan was actually on my dissertation committee. And I was one of the evaluators of community policing back in 1997, 1998,
Right.
1999, 2000, right? That's when I was one of the evaluators as a graduate student working. Now, tell me about the value. What do you believe are some good active ingredients for community policing to become implemented and sustained? And what I mean specifically, Do you believe that police alone, training and getting people ready for community policing, can do a good enough job? Or does community policing require civilian and citizen involvement even from the inception and the training? What are your thoughts and experience?
That's a good question. Yeah, I definitely subscribe to the fact that you need civilian participation along with police participation. When I used to train for the CAPS initiative, there would be a police officer, along with me, and I was more a civilian trainer, and it worked every time. So yeah, I think everybody needs to step up and be a part of it from the inception. And then when you talk about some of the quantitative quantitative or either qualitative. Let me get the language right. One thing that came as a result of community policing, the block clubs began to organize on a higher level. Community watch, programs became very popular back during those days and times. And some communities boasted the fact that they didn't have any crime on their block once everybody came together with the proper training, proper input from civilians, faith-based leaders, like I said, in the community at large. And there's been a lot of successes in some communities. See, when community policing first came about, you had a high-level concentration of guys selling dope on a lot of blocks throughout Chicago's west, south, north, and east side of Chicago. A lot of drug dealers out there. And you did always had a lot of gun violence, but it came about because we wanted community members to step up, because the notion the police cannot do it by themselves. So that's how I look at community policing. But the civilian participation is you cannot overlook that. There has to be a civilian component to it all the way, because if the people do not trust the police, at least they may trust Mr. Johnson who lives on the block, or Miss Brown or whatever, Mrs. Brown, somebody that lives there, and it might be more buy-in from the community, because it's all about buy-in from the community. You cannot have community policing without the buy-in. That's just the way it goes. And we trained for a few years, and I believe the program. I remember West Skogan evaluating some of the community police initiatives, and I guess from my memory, they produced some results. Some empirical data came about to look at the fact that community policing did work in some case or another. But I think the drug game was a little bit too strong to actually really rid some of those communities of so much crime. See, you're talking about the crack epidemic hit strong, people making a whole lot of money on the drugs, and the gun violence goes alongside the drug business. And it might have been too much for some communities, because a lot of those communities now have been devastated, from the failed war on drugs, actually. And so that's my take on community policing. But while it was going on, it was pretty popular. You had people all the way from the superintendent of police, commanders that attended beat meetings, detectives, all hands on deck. That's what made it pretty good with the community, from my experience.
Thank you so much for this, Mr. Hanneman. And Officer Phillips, I know 43 years, and I think if you look up community policing in the Buffalo Dictionary, your face should pop right up because you work as a school officer, man, your whole career. You probably have the longest community serving. All police officers serve the community to some degree, but you are, people know you, probably call you Mr. Community Policing, as they may call Mr. Hardeman, Mr. Ceasefire. So that's Mr. So tell us, what's your response to what Mr. Hardeman tell you about the reality of community policing in Chicago? How does that relate to Buffalo? Do you agree with him about the need for that collaboration? Tell us.
Very much, and you hit it with that word, collaboration. One of the things that is a theme that I go by is that we are better together. We are better. So when I'm hearing what you're doing, brother, in Chicago with your outreach program and your community outreach and reaching, and all I kept hearing was, this is what we're taught. This is what we taught from the faith base. And I lead that, what I do as a school resource officer in the second largest city in the state of New York. The public school alone is about 36,000. That has nothing to do with the charter schools that's coming in or private. And what I try to do wherever I go is I live by that. We are better together. You're right. I tell people 44 years ago, the reason I became a police officer was I witnessed police brutality in my community against my people on a Martin Luther King Day celebration. And I went to my dear best friend who became the highest ranking African American officer, civil servicely in the state. And he was a lieutenant at the time. And I went to him and
Is
said,
that McCarthy Gibson? Is that McCarthy Gibson?
no, his name was Battle, John Battle.
John Battle, I know. Yeah.
Yes, he became a civil service inspector, the highest rank in the state of New York. And I remember going to him and I'm saying, I just witnessed some brutality and some brothers and sisters about ready to get arrested, and they didn't deserve it. Short story was, me and him have been together since we've been kids. And he said, so what are you going to do about it? I said, what do you mean? He says, I'm telling you, we need better officers and we need black officers. That was on a Saturday. We were celebrating Martin Luther King Day celebration here, Juneteenth. That Monday, I went and signed up to take the exam, and that's 43 years ago, and I haven't looked back.
That's
so
good.
I tell people it wasn't the economics. It was I got to get in there to make a difference.
Yeah.
And I had to make a difference, especially among a city where we didn't have that many officers of color and we didn't have that many males. And so now our numbers is much better there. Now, somebody asked me, 43 years, you're getting ready to retire. What do you remember the most? I said, when I came on, there was 2 African-American officers that was wearing a white shirt and a gold bar. One of them had to have been my childhood friend, John Battle, was a lieutenant. The other one was an African-American female, Captain Marion Bass, who was the first African-American to be assigned to a precinct in the state of New York. Because a lot of times what they do is they gave you other clerical roles, even though you had ranks. And I can look back now and say we got black commissioners, black captains, black inspectors. We have come a mighty long way in my 43 years. So that's what I gravitate to, is now throughout the community in the city, we can see people of color who holds supervisory rank, and we all work in the community. Because guess what? I come from the same neighborhood. When I tell kids, in the schools, I say, you got to understand, I walked the same streets you did. I don't want you to think I came from some suburban area and I don't know what's going on. I worked the same streets. I realized the value of education, and I realized the value of a community, and that's what I stand for.
Thank you so much for sharing that. And I know as we speak, there are a lot of police, young people who are looking for careers. And I'm a some biased because I'm a U.S. Army veteran. I'm a soldier. I'm a man of uniform. I'm a some biased because I train police officers, and I know a lot of great people who are police officers and who are uniform as security guard and who are uniform as soldiers. And I know there's police brutality. I know there's police corruption, but I know there's some great human beings who join police departments to make a good difference. So if there are any young people who are listening, don't cancel out the idea to be a man or a woman in uniform, to be able to serve in this great profession, to be able to help make our world a peaceful place. And as I'm saying this, here goes another one of Buffalo's finest, right? He looks like you guys should see him. He looks like a wizard. He has he has that beard of a sensei, man. Andrew Scott. And guys, those of you who are listening to our radio show, if any of you participated in our community policing initiative, outreach, whether you were in Grand Bay, whether you were in La Plaine, whether you're in Trafalgar, whether you were in Salisbury, so many Roseau, so many places that the Kalinago territory, so many places we showed the movie Lessons from Homicides, the Buffalo Story. And I had 2 police officers with me 17 years ago, Officer Juan Phillips and Officer Andrew Scott. If any of you remember any of those officers, call in the show and tell us what you remember about their presence, of what they helped us while implementing and advancing community policing in Dominica. Officer Scott, even if you are a real estate Mongol now, I'm still going to call you Officer Scott. How are you, brother?
Doing well. Thank you for allowing me to be on your show. Appreciate it.
Yeah. So tell me, what are some of your, introduce yourself a little bit and tell us what are some of those leftover memories you have of Dominica of 17 years ago. But again, tell our people who you are, brother.
My name is Andre Scott, Officer Andre Scott. I'm retired now, unlike Juan. I keep telling him, trying to pull his card. He don't want to leave. He love doing what he do, and that's good. That's what we need: people who love doing what they do, helping the community, helping these, especially our young people here. And so, but I was a police officer for 20 years, 19 little years, over 19 years. And I've been retired for quite a long time now, still involved in our community, still helping our community out in any way that I possibly can, trying to keep the peace and de-escalate situations. That's what I do. And so, and I'm very excited to be on your program. As far as what I remember from Dominica, is I was in them clouds. That's what I remember.
Yeah.
I mean, I tell everybody about, I said, listen, man, I was praying all the way up and all the way down. Because there ain't no guardrails. And all you see clouds. You don't see no ground. You see clouds.
We went to the freshwater lake in Lodi. Yeah, that's right.
Yes, brother.
That was a prayer. Everyone all the way up and all the way back down.
Hey, Tio, we gotta get to the Dominica, bro.
Yeah, beautiful country. That's what I've seen. Beautiful country, beautiful people, very hospitable. Very hospitable. I mean, we were just welcome, and I thank you all. Welcoming outsiders to come into your community and to talk to you about how to better police the community, how to better your community. And that was just wonderful how you received us, and we really appreciated our welcome and your hospitality.
Yes. Now, Officer Scott, we were asking. I'm going to ask you this question because you didn't hear the answer from Mr. Theo Hardeman, who is. You know what? I want Mr. Hardeman to say some more things about it. He held back some things. He's not just an adjunct professor over there in violence and drug. He has some things he held out on us. He got to tell us about his celebrity status and all that. He probably doesn't want to say it, and I don't want to say it, but hopefully he can tell us a little bit about that. And if you Google his name, Theo Hardeman, TIOHARDIMAN, you'll learn who this brother really is, right? He's kind of modest in what he's saying, but this brother is everybody's the real deal, but he's the real in his own kind of special way. But one of the things I asked Mr. Hardeman, and I'm asking you now, Officer Scott, is about community policing, and in your experience, can a police department by itself implement community policing, let's say with a police officer, and police doing this? Or does community policing require, right from the inception, a strong citizen collaboration in order for it to be successful? What are your thoughts on that question?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. It needs to be a collaboration. It cannot be one-sided. It has to be a collaboration between the community and the police. And I say that, and if you talk to many communities, like when I first came on here, you talking about there's some bad police and good police. Many of them won't want to say that. We don't want to be involved, but it's a necessary thing for collaboration, because it needs both parties. You need the respect of the police, and you need the respect of the community. And so I think that has to take place, and that comes by building. It doesn't just happen. It comes by building. It comes by showing up. It comes by repetition. It comes by being involved. It comes by helping out. I know, like in our community, as many people don't want to help the police. They don't want to help the police. They don't like the police, so they don't want to help them. So when we started our community policing, it took time for us to be out there showing up, not just saying we're there, no, but really showing up at events, showing up in the community, walking in the community, having a literal presence in the community, and respecting the community. Then the community in kind gave that respect back. And that's how it's built. And so, but you need both in the beginning. The inception of it has to have both parties at an equal table.
So tell me about that in terms of when, and Mr. Hardeman, you can chip in too. when you had civilians or non-uniform people training people in community policing, what role did they play? Tell me about that in Buffalo. And Mr. Hardeman, you can tell me about Chicago.
Okay.
Tell us about Buffalo first, Officer Phillip, about the civilian role in initial community training, policing training. What did civilians do? Mostly.
Is that for me to address? You want
yeah,
me
any one of you, you or you, Scott, or yeah.
Well, Scott, what's your feelings on it?
Yeah, initially they were at the table. That's what the whole purpose of it was, that they would be at the table, learning, and as we call it, training the trainer. You know,
yes.
So we were all at the table learning. First of all, each other, what our roles are, what our perceived roles are, and our actual roles are, and so being able to how do I want to say, dismantle that building that was built, that police don't care about the community, they don't belong in the community, because even back then, not so much as it is now, that they wanted to disband the police department, you know, and make the police non-existent, and I guess and really police themselves. But it was, as we brought each other to the table, we recognized what each other's job was. That not only are the community afraid, but police are also afraid. It's not that, you know, they don't care. The police are afraid, and also the community afraid. Understanding those concepts helped at that table, and making that made known, everybody having a voice, and that was really key. That the community had a voice, not just where you had a voice at the table.
So, Officer Scott, if I hear you correctly, and Mr. Hardeman, you can tell me in Chicago, and Officer Phillips, you can tell me if that's what you experience as well. So what I'm hearing you say is that some people, like the police themselves, didn't implement community policing. Some people came in and trained police and civilians in the training of the trainers, and those trainers trained the city. Is that what I'm hearing you saying?
Yes.
Pretty much, yeah.
So how did that unfold, Mr. Hardeman? Tell us about Chicago.
Well, that's the same thing happened in Chicago. You had civilians came together, the police, the inception of community policing. I forget the young man's name. It's called Cajun Brother. Many years ago here in Chicago, he brought the team together under the community policing, community alternative policing strategy. And his name slips it, but it might come back to me. It's been so many years. That's the only reason why. But I believe that community policing was ahead of its time to a degree, because if you look at what's been happening over the last few years, which have been going on for decades with a lot of police brutality and excessive force cases, what happened is that community policing could have kind of bridged that gap with the police and the community. That's what was good about it, because you had a lot of officers that knew a lot of the key members of the community, in which I think that we kind of lost that a little bit. And that's why I say it may have been before its time, because when all the police brutality, excessive force complaints started kicking in, there became a big divide with the community and the police, a real major divide. And so when the people know the community, that was part of community policing. But overall, it was really all about problem solving, training, showing residents how to help keep how to keep their community safe by working together. As an end result, even in the year 2023, myself, I live on the south side of Chicago, and there was a rash of catalytic converter, people stealing catalytic converters from up underneath people's cars. So what I did for my community policing training pass of that era, I talked to all the neighbors on my block. I had to talk to about 30 to 40 neighbors on my block. It's a long block, a lot of houses. So we all made a decision to park right on the backs of each other's cars, right on the back. It was hard to get out the parking space, but the guys that were still in the catalytic converters they could still go on the side of your car. It was a little bit more work for them because they had to get up under from the back. So we didn't have any catalytic converter thefts on our block for a long, long time because they couldn't get in, So I took that as a problem solving training myself. It was orthodox training. Don't get me wrong. It's just, I met with the people in the community and we came up with a solution to catalytic converter thefts on our block. And it actually worked. zero catalytic converter thefts. Because you know, catalytic converters cost around $1,300.
Right.
And that was really hurting a lot of people's pockets, right? So, but the reality, Professor, and everybody that's listening, you cannot get around it. The police, like I said, we knew all the police. That's what helped us out. But now the problem with the police is that on a higher level, because you know, Cook County is the #1 county for wrongful convictions. So the actions of a few police leaves a big major stain on the majority of police. And I don't believe that the people on the higher level deal with a lot of their police officials I don't use the word lower level. I believe we all amongst men here and amongst the ladies as well. I respect everybody. I don't look at people on high and low. But the thing is this, different levels of the work. I think high-level police officials overlook the actions of some of the people in different ranks, which led to a lot of distrust with the police, and that could have derailed community policing, and it did derail community policing for a little while. Okay, so that's my take on it, but that's what it came. It was all about having a police trainer, civilian trainer, and a faith-based leader trainer, and we couldn't miss. I mean, it worked like a well-oiled machine because you had all the components of a community involved. Okay.
That shit is uncomfortable for a dog. I would suggest.
Bo, mute your mic. Somebody needs to mute the mic. Bo, mute your mic. And as you guys are listening, because I remember when I came in 1996, the very first time I came to Chicago, 1997, I began my PhD at the University of Chicago. And the 29th of April of 1993 is when CAPS, the Chicago Alternative Policing Strategy, community policing started. Whose mic is still on? Is there in the studio? Whose mic is still on? Somebody's
mic. Hey, Bo, mute your mic if you can. That might be you, Bo. I'll mute mine anyway too. It's not my mic, but I'll mute mine anyway.
Okay. Yeah. Somebody's.
Can you hear me?
Bo, as long as you are here, man, why don't you introduce yourself, brother? Why don't you introduce yourself, bro?
Can you hear me?
Yes, I hear you. Introduce yourself. Yes, introduce yourself.
Yeah. My name Arthur Stringer. They call me Advisor Bo. Yeah.
So tell us more about who you are, what you do. Tell us about yourself.
Well, I'm the founder of an organization called Develop a Dream, which deals with recidivism of men and women going in and out of prison, as well as our at-risk youth, and then I have an educational component attached to it as well. I've been in the streets since 2012 trying to advocate unity among the street organizations as well as.
Yes. Bo, I know you're there on the south side of Chicago.
Stop the violence in our community.
Yeah, Bo, I hear that you're going in. I know that you're going in and out. I'm glad that you could even have joined us because I know your wife passed this morning. May God bless her soul. May she rest in peace. So, Bo, you may have to mute your phone a bit. You're kind of going in and out. Try that for a minute. If that's all right. So
okay.
Just hit the mute button because there was a background sound in there a little bit. You know, man, we're doing the best we can, man. We're doing the best we can, brother.
I'm gonna hit the mute button right now.
Awesome, thank you, brother. Thank you. So I was saying that the Chicago Alternative Community Policing, the CAPS program, the Chicago Community Policing program, started on the 29th of April of 1993. And the interesting thing is that although Chicago is a huge city of about 77 community areas and the like, it did not, of course, they're just pilots that were in 5 of the districts. We have 21 police districts in Chicago and Inglewood, where Mr. Hardeman still works, Marquette, Austin, Morgan Park, and Rogers Park on the north side, but the other was on the south side was where it was piloted. And it's very important for whenever community policing or other initiatives begin that they have a pilot, because what the pilot does is it helps us to have trial and error, and if we make some mistake, we don't spoil the entire soup. You know, we just try a little bit at a time, and to be able to advance in that regard. You know what it is? Can you believe, guys? It's already past the halfway mark. We're already 12 minutes into the new hour. Lambi, I want you to look. We're going to try to cut into a song, get our mics off and cut into a song. Another song. Any song that you give us, and then we cut off our mics at the time of the go, so we get that feedback taken care of. Lambi just cut us to a song here and cut our mics. Some of the little technical issues we have on our end. Any song you give us by Ayub Moransi will work. It seems that Bo disappeared a little bit, but we can use a little break with a little bit of musical interlude here on the big station, Q95. It's December 8th, 2025. Here's another number from Ayub Moransi. Listen up.
All right.
Si nous aimons les noms, pour nous, oui, et nous qu'à aimer, mais nous toujours fâchés, chaque lettre nous qu'à parler. On samedi, nous aller en ville, en ville pour nous parler. Tout nous bien fâchés. Si nous dit, nous aimons y'en et l'autre, tout pour nous aimer, pas l'état pour fâcher. Si nous dit, nous disons y'en et l'autre, c'est pas pour nous fâcher, pas dans nous qu'à parler. On l'autre jour, nous allons dans fête, Anti pour nous danser, nous la bien fâchés, nous aille coucher, Anti pour nous chauffer, tout nous bien fâchés, à même mon petit waché. Et si nous dit, nous aimons les l'autre, tout pour nous aimer, Anita pour fâcher. Si nous dit, nous besoin de l'autre, Anita pour fâcher, pas qu'à nous n'a parlé. I wanna love you, I wanna love you, baby. I wanna be with you, baby. Si nous dit, nous aimons de l'autre, tout pour nous aimer, Anita pour fâcher.
So now I know Officer Phillips and Officer Scott. I know you learned a little Creole in Dominica 17 years ago, but I mean I won't try to give you a quiz. So you probably wonder what the song is saying, and Mr. Halliburton. Basically, the song was saying, if we say that we love each other, it's like we should not have time to be vexed. Like, why are we so upset with each other? If we say we go to the dance, but we're not dancing, we go to dinner, but we're not eating, but the whole idea, is that if we say that we care for each other, there are certain things we should do and certain things we shouldn't do, basically. So that's what the song was saying there in Creole. As we because the whole idea is about how we can create a more peaceful world. Now, Mr. Hanneman, you don't know much about Dominica. Mr. Scott, Officer Scott and Phillips have been there, they've visited. But I'm going to ask all of your question, and it might sound like a long shot. It might sound like it's irrelevant. And maybe some of the people who are tuning in, who are listening Dominica or listening to our station, can call us. People overseas can call and let us know what your thoughts are to this question. So basically, in the new millennium, in 2000, we had 2 murders in Dominica. In 2021 and 2001, we had 1 murder. As far as the news indicated, like in about August, we had about 14 murders, and there may have been a couple after that. I don't know exactly what the figures are. It's probably irrelevant what the exact numbers. Nobody like to go around counting the dead bodies, right? But the fact of the matter is that the main thing is that in 2020, we had those low numbers, right, of murders, and actually there were times even before that time. And if I were to go in my book Pockets of Crime, there were even some years that Dominica actually had no murders at all. So our population varies. Some people say 76, some people say 71. But it's a small population, right? So what I want to ask you, do you think it is far-fetched, Officer Phillips and Officer Officer Scott, that where you have visited Dominica, you've seen the place, you have been in places, some of the villages that you are in, and the communities that have bigger populations than Dominica. So I was saying we had two murders in 2000 and one murder in 2000, two in 2000 and one in 2001. And what I'm asking you, even if we have more than 14 now, do you believe from the foundation that you see in Dominica that it is possible for this nature isle to get back to the days of 2, 1, or no murders? What are your thoughts?
Oh, that's a very challenging thought. Because there's so much that comes into play. Part of what comes into play is what is the social realm of Dominica now, especially among our young people, and we'll go from late teens to 40. One of the things that caught my attention, and I spoke on it, is from the island, was when I was there, I saw a love of people and not of materials. And that caught me, because I come from obviously a metropolitan city. Buffalo is the second largest city in the state of New York. Our population is somewhere around 270,000. But America, just a standard, a love for materials. Can I get something from you? If I can't get it, I'll take it. Now, I go to Dominique, to the island, to your island, and what caught me was the love of people. This is what we offer each other. I remember touring with you and people saying we didn't lock our homes up. We didn't bar our homes up. And that constitutes the love of how do we handle, because everybody, you're going to have challenges. You're going to have disputes. But how do we handle that when we exhibit love towards each other? Can we get back there? I would have to say, what is the social climate of the young people there? And when I say young, I gave that age group between 20s, maybe going to 40. What are they there? We understand the seniors already have planted the seed, but the seed got to be nurtured, and then it has to be harvested. Who's doing the harvesting?
Thank you for that response. And you say, well, tell me more. Let's fill in the blanks. You're saying you see some good foundations, but you need to know a lot more to know if it's possible for us to get back to those days of 2 or 1 or even 0 murders. What are your thoughts, Officer Scott, from what you witnessed and just what you imagine?
Yeah, I agree. It's a lot of variables, and today, like you said, in our society, and the human society, it doesn't matter where you're at anymore. Human society is going to dictate, what can happen, and I think our young people is a big part of that, and understanding such anger, it's just wow, such anger is in our young people, and I think that that's not it's not a one thing that can actually help bring it. It's going to take many things. It's going to and I agree. I think it can be drawn down, but it's going to take, I think, education. It's going to take someone to listen, because I even here, a lot of the problems that I hear, I see when I'm dealing with counseling with some of these young people is that they're not heard. They're not heard. And I think that, you know, if we can have an hearing ear of the older age of those who are more mature, have a hearing here to listen to our young people instead of basically tell them you do what I say, but actually listen to them, because that's where that anger is going to flow out of them into a violent place. So I think that it's going to take many things and many people. It's going to take the whole village to participate. It's going to take the police to participate. It's going to take the churches, the mosque, and whatever to participate to make a community back to that place where it was zero or very low.
Thanks. Thank you for this insight. Now, Mr. Hanneman, in Chicago, we hear about the violence. In my book, The Pockets of Crime, you know, I explained that about 70% to 90% of the murders, the drug dealing, and the batteries and the robberies happen in about 3 to 4% of the spaces, right? That means most of the places, most of the time, even like in an area like Bronzeville, on the south side, you know, would not be violent. Do you believe that there are sections in Chicago that probably have, let's say, about 65,000 people, about that, 65, 70, under 100,000 people that have no murders, at least for a couple of years, or, you know, have very close to one or no murders of any place in Chicago that may be about less than 100,000, less than about between 100,000 or 70,000 people, 80,000 people?
Yeah, you would, for example, Chicago, there are 77 communities in Chicago, about 17 out of the 77 are the high crime areas, but you have communities like Beverly Hills, Peel Hill on the south side, Beverly Hills like around 95th and Western area, so to speak, you know, in that area, general area. You haven't had a lot of homicides over there, and that population is pretty sizable. But the thing about it, there used to be a time where Rogers Park was a halfway decent place for people to live, but Rogers Park, they have their share of crime. Okay, sorry, can you all hear me? Sorry about that.
Yeah, we hear you.
Yeah, they had their fair share of crime over there in Rogers Park now, but Beverly Hills, Jefferson Park, over there by O'Hare Airport, pretty safe community for the most part. And believe it or not, the southwest community, depending on which part of it area that you're in, they're pretty quiet over there. I'm talking about around 63rd and 87th and 87th in California, 87th in Cicero area. It's not as much crime in those areas. But then when you get back, like say to Inglewood, Austin, Auburn, Gresham, Chatham, South Shore, South Chicago, Roseland, the list goes on. And Austin has close to 100,000 people in the Austin area. And Austin leads the city right now in homicides. But this year in Chicago, we're really working hard. We believe for the first time in the last three decades, last 3 or 4 decades, we might end up under 400 homicides. I don't think it's going to actually happen in reality, but we'll be like 405, 410. That's a lot, but that's not as much as Chicago would normally have, year after year. So right now, a lot of us are working together. The police doing their job, we're doing our job, and hopefully we can keep the homicides down.
Yes. And let's say in Buffalo, New York, Officer Phillips, the areas you see in Buffalo that seem to be most peaceful, what characterize those communities? What about those communities? What are some of the things that are common? And let's say peaceful, I'm talking about, because the reason why we measure murders, homicides as a count to compare is because that's the hardest crime to hide for the most part, or the one that is most highly reported. Of course, you could hide a murder, people could disappear, could pass as suicide, but something like rape or robbery or burglary, these things are mostly unreported. So if we were just to look at murder statistics or the murder are not the only statistic that are crime. If you were to look at it, Officer Phillips, and you were to think about your 43 years experience in Buffalo, and you think of a community that is relatively safe from bodies dropping there, it doesn't mean that people from there may not kill people somewhere else, but bodies dropping there. What are some of those things that characterize, what are some of those communities and what characterize them?
I think what happens, or at least in Buffalo, and I got Brother Scott, it just happened, we're both are elders of the church. The participation of the church, regardless of whether in our community, we have many pastors, elders, people. I like to say we're ambassadors of the gospel. You have to be out there. You can't be just quoting words and doing speeches and you're not actually on the sidewalk walking, talking, participating. We walk the same Tops Market. I go in the same Wegmans store. You see me. I get so many people come up to me, Officer Phillips, Officer Phillips. Why? Because then they know that you're a part of the solution to the problem.
Okay.
And it takes that working together, it takes that being out there, educating. I tell people, why are you so angry? Because you haven't learned to love yourself first. When you understand your history and you come to love yourself, then you can love me. You're angry at who? You're angry at yourself. You're angry at what you see where you want to be and where you're at presently.
So you see that collaboration, that interest in communities, and the like. One of the things we know, like there's a theory called routine activities theory that says that crime happens when a motivated offender meets a suitable target in the absence of a capable guardian. That means that for a crime to happen, like a murder to happen, there has to be somebody that either wants to kill or wants to hurt. There has to be somebody suitable for them to land that hurt to. But if there's a guardian that is present, that makes that motivated offender and that suitable target less likely to result in a crime, right? But if there's the absence of a capable guardian, then there's a higher probability that that motivated offender can find a suitable target in a probable location. You understand? Now, one of the things that I want us to talk about here before we take another break is about the idea of that motivated offender. Officer Phillips, I remember when I was in Buffalo earlier on this year, you gave me the example of somebody you had committed a murder and they were close to the train station or something like that. And you cut up to them and he was running away. And you said, or may have been a murder or shooting or whatever. And you said, right, you had the courage to do what you did. Now, why are you running away, right? So, an officer, Officer Scott, I know you have had stories of showing up in homicide scenes or knowing people who kill people. What I want us to talk about is when somebody decides to pull that trigger and kill somebody, shoot a woman, shoot two women, shoot one person, shoot whomever. What have you learned about the last minute of that other person's life, the last few seconds of that other person's life, where that killing became imminent? Mr. Hardeman, I want you to think about that question. And as you think about that question, I really want to remind our listeners that we are talking to Officer Andrew Scott, Officer Juan Phillips of Buffalo Police Department. Officer Phillips, 43 years, still going. Officer Scott, maybe he was about to retire when he was here 17 years ago, so he's probably close to years. He might be retired. He's still looking young as ever. And he looks like Wicks with that beard, actually. You don't know who Wicks is, but the listeners would know who I mean. When a light-skinned brother with that big beard, he looked like Wicks. And Theo Hartman, who we still got to know about the superstar here that has been holding out a few things on us. But, we got to know a little bit more about him. So we're really talking here about Peaceful Nature Eye. We're really talking about the question of 17 years ago, this gentlemen were here. We're helping with the implementation of community policing. They have great ideas and experiences about Dominica. Mr. Hardeman, hopefully you can visit Dominica this year and so on. Talking about the prospects of making Dominica a peaceful nature isle. Next year will be the 30th anniversary of my book, Lessons from Grand Bay, Prospects for Maintaining Low Crime in Dominica Nature Isle and the Caribbean. And it will be actually the 20th anniversary of the book and the 30th anniversary of the research. And then we are asking 30 years after doing this work, what do we have to say? And we believe, or I believe, that we can develop peaceful nature isle. We believe that there are years when Dominica had no murders or less than 3 murders. We can see those glory days again. And we are wondering, how do we chart a course to be able to get there? Is that even possible? And how do we chart the course? That's what our show here is about tonight. There's some big announcements that we'll be making down the road. We still have hopes of having a special guest hopefully show up here. I won't tell you who the person is in case the person is not able to make it, but we're expecting another special guest to join us. But again, you're on Q95 Radio, the big station. If you are on the overseas line, it's 305-432-9624. You can reach us. You can reach us locally in the area code 767-449-3095, 449-3096, 449-3097. You can reach us on those numbers right here on the big station. And I also want to tell you that we are doing on the 20th day of December, Saturday, 2025, we are doing something we call Peaceology Kudme. Kudme is like volunteering or helping out each other. We ask people to come volunteer with us as part of what we're calling intentional community development tourism. That means tourism that helps to build community. And there are 2 properties that we will be giving a facelift to. One is Shaba's house. Dennis Anthony, and everybody should know Shaba is in Trafalgar in that area. And a business, a historic building in our community, one of the oldest businesses in our part of the area there, Mr. Selwyn's shop. Now his grandson Bernard runs that shop. We're gonna give a facelift to that shop. The buildings are about 22 by 25. We put some facer boards as needed. We will do some paint job. Shaba needs some windows. If we get enough money, we probably will be able to buy Shaba some windows. But we want to at least give his outside, patch up the wood and paint it up. We are looking to have about a 5 gallon bucket of forest green paint. That's going to go for Mr. Selwyn's shop, and a 5 gallon bucket of light green to go for Shaba's home, and a 5 gallon bucket of primer with 6 rollers, 4 brushes, each of inches 4, 2, and 1, 4 scrapers to get the scraper board and so on. Some generous sponsors have started to help us out, and if we get more than we can use for Mr. Selwyn's shop and by Shaba, we will help others. In Watton-Waven, there are people who, and in Trafalgar area, we have, and it's all over Dominica to some degree, but Watton-Waven and Trafalgar pocket there in that, and Mont Prospect in that Roseau Valley bucket, in that Roseau Valley basin. Peaceology was kind of born there, so we spend a lot of time trying to help our brothers and sisters in that area, to help beautify their place. Like the Petit Paradis, right in Watton-Waven, is one of our sponsors for this event. We also have Strictly ITELs. That, by the way, if you guys ever go up in Watton-Waven, close to Tikwe de Glochero, you pass the entrance a little bit on the left, you will see Tabitha's shop there, Strictly ITELs. Beautiful, great cane juice, sorrel, whether it's soursop, different types of juices and different types of natural pastries. ITELs for you guys, for those of us here, it's like just vegetables. That's kind of what it is. Also another place in Watton-Waven, back to Eden Tropical Escape, Rachel, over there, close to the area where TS Spies in that section of Watton-Waven. That's one of our sponsors here. We have an anonymous sponsor. We have Also, Peaceology Acres. This is our place, Brunch and Munch by Sandrine over there in Trafalgar. Papillot Wilderness Retreat in Trafalgar. Edgar George, the son of Henry George, who's always supportive for the efforts that we are making. We have, Burke's Tropical Paradise as well. And Christabel John Baptist, who works with the Department of Tourism, who is really front and center helping us to make this thing happen. And Anthony Newton St. Jean, who's my brother, always willing to lend a hand. So if you have any questions or you want to support this for the Kudme, please go right ahead and reach me at 716-603-0992. Or you can if you call the station to reach out, you can do that as well. So we just wanted to reach out and thank you for supporting these efforts, because we believe in peaceful nature Isle. Now, Lambi, I feel like I want to hear another song, a little bit of another song. There, you can give us something, give us a surprise. We'll hear something. Can you believe we only have 20 more minutes on the clock? Really less than 20 minutes if you think about it. Just about 35 more minutes of the show. We'll come back and we'll get to hear from Mr. Hardeman, from Officer Scott and Officer Phillips. When people kill people, what happens the few seconds before the death happens, and what do we learn to be able to help us to be able to prevent those matters in the future? Right now, let's go to another number from Ayub Moransi. Lambi, let's have it.
Might be the right one. No, please. I rise, I fall, the passage of life, as I pass this life, with your life, lead me on, lead me on, lead me on. Them wanna see me crawl, yet still I walk through the mischief and pain. I rise against the ice. Lead me on, lead me on, lead me on, lead me on, lead me on. Nobody over mountains, I say God, lead me on. Through the narrow path of love, lead me on, lead me on, lead me on. I rise, I fall, and I'm still alive. With the shadow of death, I fear no evil. Those that don't like my face, I care for them all. But I say, God, lead me on, lead me on, lead me on. Lead me on, lead me on, lead me on, lead me on. Over mountains I say, God, lead me on. Through the narrow path of life, lead me on. This darkness, when you are with me, the ship of the wrong. All of my life.
Lead me home, lead me home, lead me home. Let's get some wisdom. Ayub Moransi asking us to get wisdom, to lead me on. Ask for the Creator to help clear our minds and help us to find our way, to lead, to follow. It's any leader, any good leader should be a good follower. of
Yes.
something. Because if you're leading somewhere, you're probably following something. And we believe following our Lord, following a body, something that is bigger than yourself, can help you to make better decisions than worse ones. So, gentlemen, what are you in any one of you that feels talking, like feel moved to speak first? When we talk about that very act, if we're talking about reducing murders, at some point, 3 seconds ago, somebody was alive. 1 minute ago, somebody was alive. What have you learned about what happens to that point where it could have not happened, but it did? So what are some of the things that you have learned on your job and your experience in that regard? I have some stories of my own as well, but any one of you, whichever order you feel like speaking, or let's have to choose somebody.
Well, you know, Professor, that's a real deep question, but I can just use myself as an example. When I was 17 years old, I used to ride the bus like a lot of people, and back then we would wear a lot of gold on our neck, you know, and it was a thing for men to go to the back of the bus. Most men didn't sit in the front of the bus. We had to walk back to the back of the bus with our chests up, okay? And I get back there, and this guy with a little short guy, kind of built guy on a tank top, was in the summertime, and he said, when I get off the bus, he gonna take all my jewelry from me. And he had a big old butcher knife, you know. He showed me the butcher knife, and I had a zip gun. You only get one shot with a zip gun, Professor. It's a 22 bullet, and the gun might break on you after you shoot it. It's like it fall apart in your hand, right? And I'm telling this, so it's just a true story. But so he kept his word when he got off the back of the bus. Before I left off the back out the back door of the bus first, and he came right behind me, pulled a butcher knife up, bam! I shot him right in his stomach with the zip gun, okay. And I'm saying in a comical term now because, you know, I done got over it over the years, but you got to put that real strong man look on your face when you shoot somebody, Professor, like, you know, that look, right? You know, my hand was sweating and stuff. And if you would have saw me right after I shot him, you would have known I shot somebody because I was nervous. I had never shot nobody before. But in that situation, I just brought it up for the record. I was 17 and it was more like self-defense. Don't get me wrong. But I heard the guy holler. I have to admit, I heard him holler so loud, man, because I guess the 22 bullet might have traveled up in him, and because I shot him low, I didn't shoot him high, I shot him low. And only thing I can tell you in that situation, it was do or die for me. It was do or die, literally, because he pulled the butcher knife up, and the way he had it, I knew he knew what he was doing. He knew how to use it. I can tell the way he had it. I got to pause and laugh for a minute and I have to go back in time. But anyway, when you talk about the gun violence and a person could have been there, I could have been dead. I don't really know what happened there because I ran. You know, I don't think he died, but, you know, I ran off the scene, right? But the moral of the story is it's tough. It's a complicated question because what happens is that the mind, I've been around killers all my life. Let me just say that. I know the mindset of the psychopaths. And what's crazy about a psychopath, which they're crazy anyway, and a sociopath, is that if you got a certain relationship with them, they'll put you in another category in their mind. It's crazy. Real talk, because I got friends that they'll kill you just if you say the wrong thing to them. But if you cool with them a certain way, they'll tell you, you my man. I don't look at you that way, but him over there, I get him, you know, so it varies. And see, when you talk about it, people get shot. Okay, matter of fact, and I'll say this and I'll let it go. I just had to mediate a conflict. It's fresh last week with two students at an alternative high school. One guy was 19, one guy was 17. They got into it about a granola bar. The guy had a granola bar on the cafeteria table, and the other guy took it and said, it's mine now. They got to throwing hands at each other. The other guy lost. He went and said, you know what, I'm going to kill you, man. And he had a gun. He said, I'm going to kill you. I got called in, and this one, if I coulda, woulda, coulda, you know, situations. And I got in there, and I ain't going to lie to y'all, and I ain't going to fake, Professor. I told, because I know both of the young guys. I said, you know what, I want to beat y'all up myself, man. I'm serious. I told him, I say, I want to beat y'all up, because y'all don't even know what y'all up against. You don't know what's going on. But to answer your question a little more direct, if that guy had shot that guy, his whole life would have been messed up for the rest of his life. Because they would have known he did it, and he, you know, I knew his father because his father was in the mediation with me, and it was really deep because the other guy that was the fighter, he like, I don't know how to use no gun. I just want to fight, and he was committed to fight. But the other guy was trying to tell him, the guy that had the gun, he said, "Look, I got shot in the leg before. I don't fight no more, man. I shoot." So when you think about the mindset of these guys, and the reason I'm talking this way, because the killers are all over the place. There's so many variables, Professor. It's not just gang related. It's domestic, interpersonal violence. You name it, man. It's like, you looked at me the wrong way. As petty as it sounds, you looked at me the wrong way. You looked at my woman. You said the wrong thing on social media. So it's just hard. It's because to know what's in that mind, the mind of the killer is like, you disrespected me, and I'm gonna deal with you this way because you disrespected me a certain way. But most common people not gonna kill nobody for what you might say out your mouth. But on the streets, it takes a whole nother meaning. And it's kind of tough. That's my best response for you for my self-experience.
Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah, thank you so much. And what I'm hearing from you is that there is no one situation that results in somebody dying. Sometimes they can die out of self-defense. Sometimes they can die out. They thought they're killing a lot of people. I said, be careful. In the military, they always tell us that, man, be careful of the fight you start, because it may not be yours to win.
There you go.
Fight you start, because it may not be yours to win, because you never know. I mean, as soldiers, people would make those mistakes sometimes, man, and you touch that wrong skinny dude, man, and before you know it, they're out. I mean, it's really that's the thing. So, officers, what are your experiences with that? Scenes that you've showed up on, things you understand, in terms of those last minutes. What happened to make?
There's something equation I put together. As a matter of fact, I wrote it down, and I tell, because I work with young people all the time. What happens when emotions meet reality? Reality is going to give you your answer. We react a lot on our emotions. And what I mean by that is, as Officer Scott could attest to it, I deal with a lot of emotions. Are you willing to take the responsibility of your emotions? So somebody says, well, we're going to fight. And I say, okay, so he ain't so swift on his feet. So when he goes down and hit his head and don't get back up, who takes responsibility for his life? Your emotions led you. The reality is he's not getting back up off that floor.
That's right.
Now, where are you going to be? Now your liberty becomes important to you. Everybody wants their liberty. Because I find very few people are standing there saying, I committed this, I'm going to acknowledge this, I'm here. But what I try to do is get people, we as a race, we got to stop reacting. We got to stop acting on our emotions. Because your emotions will bring me and Officer Scott to the scene. I just thought we were just going to go out in the back of the schoolyard and have a fight. Okay, so he fell down and hit his head. What, you think some judge is going to hear that y'all decided to get the granola bar off the table and you decided to go out in the back and have a fight? We got somebody that didn't get back up. That's the reality. And there's a price for that.
Wow.
Are you willing to give up your liberty?
Yeah.
For a granola bar? Come on, let's just, sometimes we got to stop letting our emotions, and I'll stop talking, but you see I'm passionate about it. We got to stop letting our emotions guide us. We got to be in charge of our emotions. Are you serious? I'm about ready to go give up my liberty for a granola bar?
Yes, sir.
Come on.
That's so
please, I hope somebody intervenes.
Thank you. We only have about 8 more minutes here, and we want to leave a little bit early to give some space. Officer Scott, what's your contribution as we wind up? Yeah, you're muted, Officer Scott. Can you? Yeah, and then you do that, and that will get us.
As we wind down, my thoughts is, when I work in the streets and dealing with people who have, of course, murdered people. And, being on the scene at that time and having to arrest them, you ask them, what happened? And many times they don't know. But I don't know. Yeah. What do you mean you don't know? But if I may say this, it's desensitization. Many people, because they're desensitized to the homicide, what that really means, as Officer Juan was saying, they don't understand the consequences. They're desensitized to the fact that they see it so much and it's around them so much that it's really nothing to do with. And they really don't know. I've heard people have talked to people and they say, man, I blacked out. I blacked out. I don't even know what happened.
Yes, sir.
So, you know, to ask, for my own personal experience, I couldn't tell you because I ain't been there. Of course, I've shot at people. Thank God I never hit nobody and they never got hit. But, just from my experience with talking to people, I think it's a desensitization. And I think society has helped us make that point. Media, music, videos, games has desensitized, especially our young people today. They don't see that it's real.
Yes. They think it's all a video game, huh?
Yeah.
Well, as we wind up here, I also want to send out condolences to family members of Eddie Anthony James Jr., who was AKA Boom, on the 10th of December 10th. There's a candlelight vigil for him. He was somebody turn off the mic, please. He was the last murder victim in Silver Lake at 6:30 p.m. Over on at Silver Lake at his residence where the homicide occurred, the murder happened. And on the 18th there of December will be his funeral. On the 18th, I should be in Dominica by that time, be there, give support to the family. His father, Wadada James, was Edison James was also a victim of murder in the same community, and we continue to try to work for a more peaceful community. Our next show is on the 22nd of December in studio. I should have with me his Bloom's sister and his stepmom joining us in studio in Dominica. Gentlemen, I really want to thank you, Lambi on the table. Lambi, thank you so much for being on the control with us. I know it's been a long night. Hopefully, our special guests couldn't join us tonight. Hopefully, they can join us in 2 weeks. Gentlemen, Mr. Professor Theo Hardeman, adjunct professor. This brother was in the movie The Interrupters, man. If you guys look at The Interrupters, he has a comic book and he has a book, and he ran for governor too. I would tell all your business stories. So he ran for governor a couple times. He's gonna win one of them days. You know what I mean?
One of these days. That's right. Now you got to do what you got to do, Professor.
Yeah,
that's right.
Officer Andrew Scott, Officer Juan Phillips, man, thank you so much for being here. We really want to thank our sponsors, Le Petit Paradis. Really want to thank the others right there, Strictly ITEL in Watton Waven for supporting our events. Anthony St. Jean, our anonymous donor, Christabel John Baptist, Edgar George, Papiat, Berkey, Tropical Paradise, Bunch and Munch, Peaceology, Acres, again, Strictly ITELs, and Back to Eden Tropical Escape. Thank you, everybody, for listening to Peaceology State on December 8th of 2025. I'm your host, Dr. Peter K.B. St. Jean, here in Chicago with our others, two brothers in Buffalo, New York, and Mr. Hardeman here in the city. Dr. Don Dirk couldn't join us tonight. Arthur Stringer joined us for a little bit, and in peace to his wife, Marianne.
Yes.
All right. Thanks again, Lambi.
Thank you.
See you next time. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thumbs up. Yo.
Thanks, brothers. Thank you. Lambi, I don't know if we had anybody on Facebook, but I guess.
We had Greg Baptist that showed up just a while ago at 9:59.
What did he say?
Good evening to all. Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year.
Okay. Thank you. Bye-bye. Right.
Okay.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Good night.
What we need is peace and love. You see parents dying, children crying, never to war. He preaches no more. The leaders talking, but doing nothing. Only young men they sent to slaughter. Checking Israel, checking Lebanon. Children abandoned because of war. I said, war, war. We turning no war now. War, war. What we need is peace and love.